Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this lead generation guide, you're going to learn the 5 simple steps to generating leads on autopilot, from choosing what platform to actually target to find your leads, all the way up to what to do on that sales call to actually close them. So timestamps below, along with some other helpful videos I'll be referencing if you want to take a deeper dive into each one of these parts. Here we're just going to go through an overview and of course, how to make sure you can set all this up on autopilot. So let's go ahead and jump in here. So taking a look at this diagram, of course, we have a lot of different traffic sources where we could find our potential prospects and customers, and then they go through the funnel process all the way down to your product or service. Now, when it comes to specifically lead generation, we're going to focus on the landing page, the lead magnet, and then, of course, what to do on that sales call. And so this is what our diagram is going to look like. Of course, timestamps below if you want to jump ahead to a particular section, and we'll get to traffic at the end. So right now, we'll talk about arguably the second most important part of this entire process, and that is going to be the landing page. Obviously, we need to have a place to collect that contact information to hopefully eventually book some sales calls, and the landing page is the first place where we start to collect that contact information. Now, here's an example of what a landing page could look like, and if you're trying to book sales calls, you'll notice that this landing page doesn't actually ask for the phone number, and that's because we want to collect just the name and email at this stage. We'll get the phone number and contact details and more business information later because we don't want to start screening potential prospects at this point. We want to cast a really wide net. That's the whole point of a funnel. We start really big, and then as people go through the process, you're going to automatically filter people out who aren't a good fit for your particular product or service. Now, on the landing page, there are 4 key elements, and you're going to use something called the ADA framework. This is not something I came up with out of thin air. This is a proven copywriting framework. So I'll link up in the cards in the description to a full-blown video that goes through how to apply this copywriting framework to actually design and write out your entire landing page. Here, just know that at the very top, you're going to need a subheadline and headline that clearly communicate what the offer is, and offer is going to be your lead magnet, not your sales call. So you'll see how the differences work out in a little bit here. Then we also need a couple of bullet points to create some interest, talk about how the lead magnet is going to save them time, money, or make something easier. Of course, we need a clear call to action, which in this case is enter your name and email, and we'll build some desire with some social proof. Now, I'm going to assume you don't have a bunch of media properties or big company logos you could put here or hundreds of testimonials. So we'll go through a very, very simple way. You can essentially quote yourself and just add some credibility to this particular page. So when it comes to the most important part of your landing page, of course, it's going to be your headline, how you grab attention and instantly communicate that whatever your lead magnet is, which we'll get to in a moment, is actually going to be valuable to your ideal customer. And to do this, we only need to ask 3 simple questions. Who are they in terms of your ideal customer prospect? What do they want, and what do they think is in their way? So all you need to do is take 20 or 30 minutes and list out all of the results your ideal customer wants, and then list out all of the roadblocks, things that are preventing them from getting the results, or things that they think are preventing them from getting the results. Now, you'll notice in this particular example, we're talking about someone who's trying to grow a YouTube channel, and it is important that you do this in first person because you want to try and get to as close to whatever your ideal customer is experiencing as possible. And so it's very important that even if you or I don't think it's a really big deal, if your ideal customer thinks it's a big deal, then go ahead and put it under that roadblocks. And then we can use a very simple copywriting formula to quickly put together some really powerful headlines. And this is using the copywriting formula allowed me to, allowed us to, or has allowed. Because you're trying to generate leads and hopefully you want to get someone on a sales call with you, the rapport building and authority building process needs to start right now. And so using yourself as an example or previous clients as an example of what you can deliver for success is really going to help smooth out the entire sales process, because starting at your landing page, you're using yourself and your company or your clients as the cornerstone that you are able to deliver on the results that you're talking about. And again, when it comes to the results and roadblocks here, we're talking about whatever your lead magnet results or lead magnet roadblocks is. Now, if you don't already have a lead magnet, that's okay, because this exercise is going to help you figure out what type of lead magnet to have. And so taking our results and roadblocks, here's how we can plug them into that simple allowed us or allowed me or allowed our clients to. So here we have a couple of headline examples. The weird video campaign that allowed us to double our subscriber growth in 30 days. Or I'll skip down one. You can always pause to read all of these. The blueprint that has allowed thousands of small creators to go full time. So all we need to do here is think about the results that someone's after and then come up with a name for the solution that we found or we created for our clients or ourselves in order to achieve that result. So here's a landing page on how a headline might play out. The strategy that allowed me to generate 100,756 views in 15 days with one simple video. And it can actually be really helpful for your lead generation process to go through and write anywhere from 5 all the way to 20 or 30 different headlines. And you're going to come up with a lot of creative combinations that will never see the light of day, but that's completely okay. Here, you just want to focus on brainstorming and getting out as many ideas as possible, because once you have all of these ideas, you're going to look at all of those results and roadblocks that you've created in headlines, and then you're actually going to be ready to create your lead magnet. Now, if you already have a lead magnet, then just go ahead and skip this section. But if you don't already have a lead magnet or want to improve the lead magnet you have, there are 3 different types of lead magnets I recommend when it comes to lead generation and priming people to be ready to book a strategy or sales call, discovery call with you. Discovery or strategy call, but they're sales calls to us, right? So all a lead magnet is something of value you're exchanging for that contact information, because after all, no one's just going to enter their name and email on a random page for no reason, right? So we've come up with a bunch of roadblocks, we've come up with a bunch of results, and so now it's time to pick and choose a couple of them that we can actually help someone inch towards in a few days. And so what is really important with a lead magnet is it's helping with a particular roadblock or result that someone can achieve relatively quickly. So if we're talking about getting your first 5,000 subscribers, well, it probably wouldn't be a good idea to create some sort of guide or audit or lead magnet for that, because it's going to take a while from someone who's at 0 to get to 5,000. Whereas if we created a lead magnet about thumbnail design or how to properly plan content, we can give our potential customers a really quick win and actually demonstrate that we can be valuable. So let's go through those 3 different types of lead magnets. So the very first one I recommend using is an audit to help your prospects and potential customers figure out things that are going wrong in their particular process and really bring to light how if they don't address the problems that are in front of them or the roadblocks that are in front of them, things are going to get significantly worse in the future. So as an example, we used to offer an analytics checklist as a lead magnet as part of one of our funnels for our analytics services. And so what this simple audit did is it allowed people to go through their analytics account and see different settings that they might need to change in order to collect better data, or things that will actually prevent them from getting the data that they need in the future. Now, did this solve all of the problems? Of course not. There's tons to do in there, and there's a lot of custom codes and trackings and data layers that would be physically impossible to explain in a 10-page PDF, right? So you're not going to be tackling every single problem that's in front of them, but we just want to make them aware and then give them some quick tips or give them some strategies or tactics where they can overcome some of the roadblocks or achieve some of the results that they're after right now. Because after all, if the lead magnet's not genuinely helpful and valuable, they're not going to get on the phone with you, right? So the second type of lead magnet I recommend is going to be a template. So unlike an audit where we're pointing out all of the different problems that are in front of them and helping them solve a couple of them, here with a template, we're focusing on a specific result or roadblock that they're trying to overcome, and then we're sharing our particular process on how to overcome that. And this could be as simple as a 3 or 4 page document that helps someone brainstorm the right idea or walk someone through how you would think through a particular process. As an example, one of our lead magnets is a Google Tag Manager playbook, and it's a simple 7-page PDF that people can go through to follow the exact same format we go through when it comes to installing Google Tag Manager, of course, keeping all of the tracking codes and conversion codes organized in one single place. Now, this last one is the one that I recommend doing the least, but it can be the most powerful once you get it right, although it takes a while to get it right. So this is going to be a super specific training. Now, I'm not saying create a webinar. I'm not saying do a 45-minute video sales letter here. This is going to be a maximum of 25 minutes where you essentially share something very specific, based on your own experience. So the reason a lot of sales videos fail these days is because they include information that you could just find here on YouTube, right? And so the only way to actually guarantee that someone's going to come away from a training video and find it genuinely helpful and give them an actual aha moment is if it's based on something that you have specifically experienced and overcome and figured out, or something that you've done for a past client that you specifically figured out and overcame. Otherwise, this is not a good lead magnet option. Now, in terms of the format of the video, you'll probably spend the first 90 seconds just introducing yourself and then creating some sort of hook to keep people watching, saying what they're about to learn and why it's so powerful. You go through anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes of actual solid training based on your experience or your client's experiences. Your whole goal is to give them an aha moment. There's no way you can give away too much information. So if you're ever writing out a script and you're like, I don't know if I should share that or not, go ahead and share that, obviously, unless it's personal client information. I think that's the one thing that we don't share as well, but you can blur a lot of stuff out. So go ahead and do that for 10 to at least 15 minutes, and then 5 minutes max at the end, go ahead and talk about how you can be more helpful to them if they book a strategy call with you. So I'm getting ahead a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk about how do we actually bridge the gap between that lead magnet and the landing page and actually getting someone on the phone with you. And that's the call to action inside the lead magnet. So with the super specific training, obviously you just put a button at the bottom of the video, but when it comes to a PDF style lead magnet or a Google Doc or spreadsheet style lead magnet, you're going to want to put a button towards the end of your lead magnet so people can actually book a call with you after they've gone through all the content. And so here's an example of a lead magnet. Let's say we created one for conversion rate optimization. So going through our sample lead magnet here, this is just a basic guide for e-commerce showing them how to properly run split tests for their product pages. And then at the very end, we just have a simple call to action. Book a strategy call with us now so we can help you with your e-com sales, or we can help you optimize more or get more out of the traffic that you already have. And that is as fancy as the call to action needs to be, especially because you have their email. So you can actually start sending emails to drive people to your booking page as well. So whether we're talking about emails, which we'll get to in a moment, or we're talking about the call to action here, the link should go to your booking page. I'll get to that after emails. So let's go ahead and go through emails. Hit that like button if you're still watching. Now with the email sequence, it's really important that we don't bombard people with hundreds of emails. Obviously, you're not going to send hundreds, but we want to limit to 5 to 7 after someone signed up for a lead magnet. And after that, we're going to essentially go to a cool off period and then come back later and try and re-engage with them. I'll link up in the cards in the description to an email marketing strategy that talks about what to do when people don't actually book a strategy call with you. So with this email sequence, it's a simple 5 email rapport building sequence to drive traffic to that booking page. And so the very first email is of course going to deliver the lead magnet because that's what people opted in for in the first place. But then the next 4 emails can talk about the results that they're trying to achieve, and we can illustrate that through a story of our own success or a client's success. We can talk about the roadblocks that are in their way, and then the last 2 emails are going to be very focused on how the strategy call or discovery call can be very helpful to them in overcoming a roadblock or achieving a result that they are trying to achieve. And so as you can see here, the results and roadblock exercise helps you throughout the entire lead generation process. That's why it's so powerful. And as you go through writing these emails and figuring out what to put in them, you'll find that you'll come up with other roadblocks and other results that you can talk about. And of course, you don't want to promise the whole solar system here, right? You don't want to say, you know what, we're going to get you to the moon on the sales call. Well, probably not. So maybe just say we're going to get you from point A to point B, not point A to point S or Z, right? That was a really silly way to say that. So you definitely want to make sure here that you are focused on empathizing, energizing, and expanding upon the roadblocks that someone has in front of them and talking about how you can be helpful to them on the strategy call, but definitely make sure that you don't oversell it as if all their problems are going to be handled in a 30 or 45 minute call, because that's just going to come across as disingenuous, because it's probably impossible given what they're trying to achieve. And if you want specifics on how to actually write these emails and then how to actually set up these automations, again, link in the cards and the description to a email marketing strategy guide that goes through exactly click by click how to set that all up, how to actually write these emails, and of course, that broadcast sequence that you can use with the people who don't actually book a strategy call with you. So speaking of booking strategy calls, let's go ahead and move on to the next part of our lead generation process, and that's of course going to be the booking page. Because after all, you don't want to be sending a bunch of back and forth emails trying to manually book times with all of the leads that are coming in. And having an automated system is going to prevent you from pulling your hair out when you send one email to one person, giving them one time, and then you send an email to another person, giving them another time block, and then they come back to you and they've actually wound up asking for the exact same time or dealing with time zones. So go ahead and save yourself a whole lot of headache and check out something like Book Like a Boss or Calendly that actually has a free plan where you can automate this scheduling process and of course also help with automating the reminders so people actually show up to your strategy calls. And again, we are linking to this booking page from the end of our lead magnet or below our special training video if that's what the lead magnet was, and in the PS sections of our emails. And so here's an example of what the page might look like. All the page needs to do is allow them to choose a date and a time. It will automatically adjust to their time zones. And this is the place where you actually ask for their phone number. It might seem a little repetitive asking people to enter their name, email, and then their phone number all over again because you're using a separate software. But you do actually want to ask this again because there are a lot of people who use completely separate emails or contact information for opting into landing pages. And so you might actually get the real contact information this time. So it is important that you ask all over again and you make sure you have that actual phone number. I've had embarrassing times where I thought I had someone's phone number and I call and then I was asked for an extension and I had no idea. And then the sales call was 10 minutes late. And obviously that call went really, really poorly. So you want to make sure that you explicitly ask for that name, email, and contact and phone number all over again so that you have exactly the contact information you need to call on time. So when it comes to the sales call, you can optionally have a survey right before it asking a couple questions to pre-qualify people. Although when you're just getting started, it probably is a good idea to just get on the phone with everyone. I know that sounds like a waste of time, but you're going to quickly start learning about who you're attracting with your entire funnel, and you're going to get a lot more experience a lot faster than if you added a pre-qualifying survey trying to filter out only people who are the perfect fit for your product or service. So once it comes to the actual sales call, there are, of course, entire books and entire courses on just this one piece. So we are going to 80-20, 80-20, 80-20, more like 99-1% this sales call here. So this is definitely not an extensive training on how to actually do these sales calls. It comes down to a lot of experience as well. But all you need to do with this call is lead, listen, and learn. And so when it comes to the call, 90 to 95% of the talking should be done by your prospect. So if you're doing more than 90% of the talking, then you're probably talking too much. I know that sounds a little weird, but the whole point is for you to lead the conversation. So you set an agenda at the very beginning of the call. You listen to their story and experiences so you can properly prescribe a solution. And then, of course, you're learning the entire time so you can actually empathize with them. After all, we're not going to say, oh, you know what, that's a really stupid reason to not want to do this. Like, you're an idiot, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to empathize with them, meet them where they are, and then lead them to the solution, which of course is your product or service, or say, you know what, I don't think you're a good fit, which of course is something that I've had to do a lot on calls because not everyone is a good fit for your product or service. So when it comes to the call, once you've set that agenda, the bulk of the call is about evaluating and then prescribing. So something that's really important is the evaluate phase here is going to be the bulk of the call, probably 50 to 60% of it, where you are just asking basic questions to understand your potential customers' experience, and you want to understand the roadblocks, you want to understand what they're trying to achieve, and here you want to essentially let them vent because a lot of your customers or potential customers are coming to you because they have a problem. They're dealing with roadblocks, they're trying to achieve a result, and they're frustrated. And so let them express that frustration, understand and learn from that frustration, and then ask if they're interested in a solution. So this is something that's very counterintuitive, but you will have some sales calls where you, at the very end of it, it's been 30 minutes and you're ready to go into the prescribe phase. You say, I think I have something that can help you solve XYZ and achieve achieve result ABC. Are you interested in hearing about it? And the person might just say, no, not really. And you go, oh, okay, well, is there any other questions I can answer for you? And then the sales call ends, right? So don't pitch your product or service to people who haven't said yes, they want to hear about it. And then, of course, the close, you always wait for the prospect to ask what the price is, and that's when you drop it and move into the price and handling objections. Now, again, this is a topic that could take 3 or 4 times as long to go through. So that's the basics of what you can do on the sales call. I highly recommend checking out some books by Brian Tracy when it comes to how to actually talk on those phone calls. So finally, we're ready for the traffic campaigns. Where on earth should you go to look for prospects to attract to this funnel that you have set up? So when it comes to traffic campaigns, there are 3 main places I recommend when it comes to lead generation, especially if you are doing services. So the first place is going to be the Google Ads network. That's going to be search ads and YouTube. The second place is going to be content marketing via a blog or YouTube. And the third one is going to be direct, and that's going to be virtual networking. So when it comes to running ads, there are a lot of different platforms out there. But when it comes to specifically choosing exactly who you want to target, Google search ads are still, in my opinion, reign supreme, because if you are an agency or service provider, you can go to Google search ads and say, hey, show my ad to people who are looking for dentists or looking for marketing agencies or looking for design services. And you really can't be that detailed on any other platform, especially when it comes to social media marketing. So I'll link up in the cards and the description to a video that takes a really deep dive on how to set up a Google Ads campaign from scratch. Specifically, if you are a services-based business, I still think that's the number one place to go. You do need quite a budget to work there. So if you're working with a budget that's less than $1,500 per month for paying ads, at least for the first couple months, then Google search ads isn't a good fit for you. And you might want to check out YouTube ads. Obviously, making videos is quite a bit of work, but the costs are very, very low on YouTube. And you can get really specific on the audience you want to target because you can target specific channels or specific keywords, again, on YouTube. So you can get really specific and show your ads to people who are actually in your target market. Now, when it comes to content marketing, blog posts, YouTube videos, and podcasts are the way to go. And of course, it's going to take a lot longer than paid ads, but the advantage is you're going to be creating pieces of media that engage and attract prospects for a much longer period of time than something like an ad, because while both do cost money, you can get by with a much lower budget with content marketing, especially if you're doing a lot of the content creation yourself, and the content's going to continue to work for you in the future. As an example, on this channel, we create a lot of how-to videos, review videos, and decision guides. And so you want to focus on those types of pieces of content because that's going to build you up as an authority in your particular niche or industry. So I will link up in the cards and the description to a full-blown content marketing video that takes a much deeper dive on how to create content, those 3 different types of styles, and of course, how to integrate calls to action within your content to actually make sure it drives leads, because creating content for the sake of content isn't really going to drive much to your bottom line. Now, this last one here is the most time consuming, but if you're on a very, very tight budget or zero budget, then it's time well spent. And this is going to be networking in Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, or answering a bunch of questions on Quora. Now, of course, this is incredibly time consuming, and you want to make sure that you are in groups that represent your ideal customers, not groups a bunch of other potential competitors, right? So if we were targeting dentists or restaurant owners, then we'd want to go to groups for dentists and restaurant owners. And what's so important here is you never promote yourself inside those groups, not even links to your content. And so anything that could be considered self-promotion should not be done with this strategy. Yes, you can post all about your products and services on your actual profile. And yes, you will have people reach out to you in direct message. And that's when you can start those sales conversations. That's where you can try and get someone on a strategy or discovery call with you. But you definitely don't want to ever have any calls to action, because that is a great way to instantly be banned from these groups and pretty much not be respected inside of those groups, because no one likes someone who just goes around promoting themselves all the time. Now, the exception here is, of course, with Quora, because you are allowed to include links to your own content or website when you're answering questions. That's not necessarily against the etiquette on that particular platform. So that does it for the 3 different types of traffic you can target when it comes to generating leads. I sincerely hope you have a much better picture of what you can do to generate more leads online, and of course, book more sales and discovery. Book more strategy or discovery calls, aka sales calls. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some value out of this video. Hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dive marketing guides just like this one, and until the next, keep building the business you love.